So welcome to this meeting of the Cemetery Board. I'm Dan Shapiro. I am the Secretary of State, Cesar Paralysis, designee as chair.
Bob Welch, Commissioner's designee to Raf Shah, Commissioner of Health.
Richard Fishman, Director, Division of Cemeteries.
Chet Butkowitz, Assistant Director, Division of Cemeteries.
Mike Seelman, Senior Investigator, Division of Cemeteries.
Glenn Breen, Investigator, Division of Cemeteries.
Suzanne Dressel, Clerk, Division of Cemeteries.
Joe Ambrose, Associate Accountant, Division of Cemeteries.
Tony Malillo, Counsel to the Cemetery Board.
And we have a special guest.
Marcos Vigil, Deputy Secretary of State for Business Services and Consumer Protection.
Is this your first time?
Uh,
I think you dropped in and out
yeah.
once in a while, but glad that you're here. Howard, as a member of the audience, a retired member of the audience, you still need to introduce yourself.
Howard Carr, longtime employee of the Division of Cemeteries.
Now, Chris is coming, I believe, but I don't know when. So we'll begin, and if we have to hold anything off for his comment, we will. But let's just start with the minutes.
Any comments?
I had one, and Tony, I might need your help on this. On Olean Crematory, it has Mr. Shapiro recommended to approve the replacement report by giving the division discretion over the terms of the lease agreement. I don't think that quite reflects the discussion. See what you remember. I would amend that. Mr. Shapiro recommended to approve the replacement of the retort conditioned on the transfer of title to the retort to Olean Crematory and the division's sign-off thereon. Is that... That was the whole discussion about
Right.
who owns the retort.
Right.
We're not going to engage in a leasehold on the retort, all right? We're going to transfer title to the retort, and then there would be a repayment scheme. Scheme is probably not a good word. A repayment plan.
Right.
Well,
There's Mr. Watson.
all right.
That's
All right.
We were worried about you.
No, we just hit a few problems.
Now, no problem here. Anyway, we just started,
Good.
so make yourself
Did
comfortable.
we approve the minutes?
We didn't get there yet.
Oh, yeah,
I was just
okay.
creating trouble as I always do.
Good, keep going.
Okay. And would you care to introduce yourself?
Yes, Christopher Wiles from the Attorney General's office.
Right. Okay, so the only comment that I had was on Olean Crematory, and we had a discussion about transferring title to the crematory, retort to the not-for-profit cemetery,
Right.
and not to condone a leasehold of it with the title residing with the other corporate entity. And they were agreeable to that, and so it was a conditional grant on the transfer of title, and then the division was going to okay that and okay the repayment plan.
Right, correct.
That's correct? You remember that? Everybody?
Yes.
Okay, all right,
I'm
so,
talking to Tony.
yeah, I'm talking to Tony because I wanted to get the law right on it. All right, so if that's all right, what I'll do is I'll just give you my little sentence there, and we can do that. What I was suggesting is that we change the last sentence to Mr. Shapiro recommended to approve the replacement of the retort conditioned on the transfer of the title to the retort to Olean Crematory and the division sign off thereon. Lawyer talk, thereon, there too. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Here. That's here. All right, motion?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes with said amendment to Olean Crematory from the July 18th, 2013 meeting.
Great.
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Legislation and regulation.
Well, I have good news. The pet cemetery regulation was accepted for filing. It's going to be published in the September 4 Register,
Hooray.
and the public comment period will end October 21.
Okay.
Other than that, I have nothing to report.
I will note, just for fun, that
Well-
that Tony did circulate a copy of a very early draft of the cemetery financial reporting rules that we've been discussing and eagerly awaiting all these months. And so now we all have it. And what I'd like for folks to do is to review that. Make your comments directly to Tony if you think it should be amended or changed or want to discuss it. And then we'll have a draft that we've all worked on and for review at the next meeting. Sound good? Okay. Anything else, Tony?
That's it.
Okay. Division report. Oh, proposed, okay, so that's next meeting, division, you're off the hook. Mr. Director,
I'll hold my comments later.
okay. This may be, you're gonna comment, this may be the only meeting on record where Mr. Fishman has not waxed poetic regarding
Oh,
some.
I will.
Oh, you will, okay, all right. See, it was too good to be true, all right.
Gotta give me my last shot.
Vandalism report,
Yes.
check.
For the fiscal year beginning March 31st, 2013, vandalism fees collected were $27,229. Applications granted were $311,158, and applications pending are $522,216.
Okay. All right, thank you. We have 6 vandalism, abandoned repair orders. I have a comment on a couple of them. I want to ask if anybody else has comments before I go to mine.
I did not.
Okay, anything? All right. Capella,
McFeely.
okay. Well, why don't you go first, Chris?
Well, I just wondered on this Pembroke Cemetery matter, does the municipality have to contribute to the vandalism account just like any other
No,
when they
no.
take it over?
No.
No.
No. No.
How about the file, so they don't file annual reports either?
No, once they take the cemetery over, it's their cemetery. It's a municipal charge, a municipal responsibility. They get their one bite at the end, and the abandoned cemetery fund,
And then it's over.
and then it's over. Yeah. On McPella Cemetery, I just want to say that was a lot of work that Cindy Craig did. I saw, the record of how we got to where we are. That was great. I also noted that 250 of it, but this is a $250 grant, that the $600, that $350 of it was covered by insurance. And I just wondered if that kind of insurance was available to cemeteries generally, why don't we hear more of that? What's the cost of that?
Can look into that.
Because if in fact there's affordable, I'll stress that word, affordable insurance out there, I don't know that we ought to be looking into having cemeteries acquire it as opposed to going to the state fisc,
Okay.
So I'd just like some background on that. And maybe during public comment time, if anybody has comments on that, I'd be happy to take them so that we can get educated.
It may be, this is kind of unusual, this is an unsold niche. So it was still cemetery property.
Ah, okay.
Versus, the monuments generally are the property of the
Yeah, because I just,
lot owner.
it never happens except in, okay, maybe that's it. The other one I wanted to comment on was Maple Grove Cemetery. We took $12,225 for repair of the foundation and replacement, fixing. But there was a quote in there for $10,900 to replace with granite markers. And my question is, why, in this case, would we go for the higher price when the granite markers will be easier to maintain, et cetera, et cetera?
Generally, the cemetery requests to, keep the continuity of the existing markers. She didn't list that in here. I'm assuming that was the case.
Do you know the cemetery?
No, I don't.
That's Cindy's, yeah.
Is that Cindy's?
Mhm.
She didn't have a recommendation though, or anything, so we don't.
Well, she recommended paying the $12,296, but she didn't request. Normally, we request
Yeah,
that we,
yeah.
so we can.
Yeah,
And it all-
I can just do a conditional grant based
Okay.
upon, the assessment of the division on that one. I have no problem with that. All right, so, why don't I just do Maple Grove and then we'll do the rest of them. So I would move to make the grant in the amount of $12,296.15, conditioned upon the division's assessment and approval. That's it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion on the other?
I move to adopt the other 5.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Really succinct motion, I like that. All right. Next, Washington Cemetery. We've got only our second example of a cemetery takeover under the relatively newly amended 15078.
I'd like to talk about this one.
Okay.
And again, I want to thank the Cemetery Association for getting this provision enacted in the statute, because even though I, at the time, and I think I've said this before, thought, who would ever do this? It's working. It makes a lot of sense now. And especially in New York City, where the city of New York is under no obligation to take over any of the not-for-profit cemeteries, or any city in the state, for that matter, but definitely New York City. So in lieu of that, you try to match up the interests of both parties here, and I spent a lot of time, negotiating with the so-called directors of Asbury, which is a very small cemetery, run by these volunteers. Any monies they have are donated by these people to the cemetery. They're out there on the lawnmowers doing but they don't have the ability, and they're getting old, to continue. And there is an acre of land, at least an acre, probably a little more, that can be developed, which has not been developed. Washington Cemetery in Brooklyn has been looking for land for years, because they have no land to sell anymore. So to keep them they have a revenue flow, they've been looking for opportunities, and this one I brought to them as an opportunity. They went out, took a look at the thing, and based upon their client base, which is heavily Russian Jewish, but since this is a non-sectarian, obviously it's a non-sectarian cemetery, and they can do well out there. Mm-hmm. And so we'll protect one cemetery and help another cemetery. So that's a great thing. And originally we were going to try a merger, and we had some corporate issues, and then let's do the abandoned, and Tony said, let's do the abandoned thing. And so finally, this is what we've got in front of us today. And I think it's a great thing for both cemeteries.
That was great work. Phenomenal work. I didn't see, because obviously they're making an application for monies. Or
Yep.
maybe not so obviously.
They haven't yet.
They haven't yet.
Okay, because I didn't see.
Because it doesn't make any sense unless the...
So we want to do it in stages.
Yeah.
In other words, we'll approve in principle, I guess. Are they asking for our guidance? Because it seems to me this is, Tony, what's the
We're
process?
approving the takeover, just
Approving
like
the
a
takeover.
town takeover, and they can come back just like a town can for.
Okay, does the statute lay out the process for this?
The statute simply says that they can apply for funds.
Yeah, so
It doesn't
that's
require
what I'm...
them to do it at the time that they take over the abandoned cemetery. I don't.
Okay, and do we have, where is our authority is implicit, obviously, and we're going to exercise it, but where is our authority in statute other than the implicit authority? Is there any explicit authority for a process for?
Take them.
It doesn't abandoned funds.
It's let me find the statute.
I should have looked it up first. My apologies.
Because I thought it was just on notification to the board, but then I was corrected. That means the board approval.
This is one of those new cemeteries.
When this was done with Spring Forest and Flower Park in Binghamton,
Yeah.
they notified us that they were applying for funds, and they put forward half of that application at the time, and the other half is still out there. That's what the board said at that time.
Right, but we gave them monies on
Yes.
behalf.
Yeah,
So
here it is.
that was that was in the nature of an application for abandoned cemetery funds. So we combined it.
Yeah, the opening line of the statute is upon application and approval by the cemetery board. So the cemetery board has to approve the takeover and abandoned cemetery
Okay.
by another cemetery.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
All right. Anybody have any issues with this?
No.
All right.
I will move that the Asbury Cemetery Association of Staten Island, Inc. be taken over by Washington Cemetery, Inc.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
A great thing, Richard. Nice. Oxford Hills Crematory, this, in any event, if we have anything, should be an executive session. That's a matter of regulatory enforcement action. So we'll move it off the calendar. If there's something to discuss in executive session, we will. Okay. Pine Lawn Cemetery land purchase. What, is Pine Lawn, is Bruce here? Oh, hi.
Mark Cuthbertson of Council for Finance.
Mark, would you care to address the board?
Sure, where would you like?
Anywhere you want. Why don't you sit here so you get captured on camera and posterity?
Okay.
Will view you.
I will try not to give you information overload. I provided the board with a briefing book with a lot of the materials. I'm joined by William Hellman, who's the chief engineer for Suffolk County. They are really the impetus for this, which is a significant federally aided road realignment, which brings us to the presentation. There is land involved here because the county has to take land. They don't have the ability to take it by eminent domain. So we have agreed to a negotiated transaction. The negotiated transaction is summarized at tab A of your briefing book. Pine Lawn will sell approximately 2.1 acres of land at about $2.7 million. Suffolk County will sell Pine Lawn 2.1 acres of land at about $2.7 million. Pine Lawn will sell Suffolk County 3.1 acres of land at about $5 million, which will result in a net payment to Pine Lawn of approximately $2.2 million. There are also additional expenses that will be paid to Pine Lawn, most significantly about $1 million for an internal road reconfiguration, and that is detailed at another one of the tabs in the briefing book. There are also traffic lights that are going to be installed, and that will significantly aid the traffic in the surrounding area.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second? So is the transaction, the purchase and sale, is that going to be one transaction? You're going to do one offer and contract for that?
Yes,
Okay.
the contract, it is one contract for the purchase and sale,
Good.
correct.
And the $1 million, I assume that those roadwork improvements are to be coming off the new intersection and the traffic flow pattern that's created by the project?
Correct. There are currently, across the road from one another, two entrances and exits, and that will be merged into one. And that's why the internal roads needed to be reconfigured, and that's why the county is paying for that, because the new traffic configuration warrants a change internally to Pine Lawn.
And that was initiated by the county, this project?
This project was all initiated by the county. It is, it's called County Road 3. It's near a major employment center on Long Island, the Melville Employment Center, the largest employment center on Long Island. The traffic conditions that are detailed at a different tab, it's tab F. There are significant failures in terms of those intersections at peak times, so this will address that. It also has a significant safety component, and the county estimates that for every $250,000 of construction costs, there will be a $500,000 annual safety benefit. So there's a big cost-benefit determination that they use in weighing this. But also the traffic in the area, this is a critical employment area, this is right on the periphery of it. It will help the traffic significantly. Safety-wise, this is a 4-lane road that has no left-hand turn lanes and no right-hand turn lanes, and people go upwards of 40 to 50 miles an hour. So it will really help traffic safety. I think the investigator from the department who was there saw what the conditions are like. And just for the board's benefit, there are a number of large cemeteries in the area. This is really the the largest concentration of cemeteries on Long Island, I believe.
Yeah.
Resurrection St. Charles is there, Beth Moses, a number of other cemeteries, so there are large processions, and this will aid all of the surrounding cemeteries in addition to the adjoining employment center. So I also provided a chronology, and as the question was, this was initiated by the county about in 2006. We've been working at this since 2006, negotiating about price and the conditions. Ironically, in September of 1973, the county asked for a reconfiguration. They couldn't get together at that point, so that's how long the desire has been in the making to make this happen. The configurations, the new configurations are detailed at tab C. The major ones are 2 roads that are now going to be joined together. That's why there's going to be a significant landing swap. There are associated road widenings and dedication that will provide, at certain junctures, it will go to 6 lanes instead of 4 with right-hand turn lanes and left-hand turn lanes. There's other cleanup of an abandoned road and some other roads in the vicinity. And Pine Lawn over the years has acquired a number of parcels on its border as non-cemetery land. As a part of this acquisition, the county is willing to give some of other land that adjoins that non-cemetery land, and we'd like to just allow all of that property to be dedicated for cemetery use one day, and would seek the board's approval in connection with that. There are pictures of the on-the-ground conditions.
When you say cemetery use, do you mean as a border or do you mean for interment?
For interment.
Okay.
Yeah. There are photos of the traffic conditions in the area. I don't think they really do justice to what the traffic is like, but they're there for the board's review. The safety analysis I detailed before. The internal road reconfiguration is all detailed here at Exhibit G. Exhibit H are other benefits, the most significant of which is there is a traffic light in the northwest portion of the cemetery that adjoins the U.S. National Cemetery, and this will allow Pine Lawn eventually to have access to that, have the entrance widen there and have access to that light. There's a quirky situation with a parcel of land that the town sold as a part of an abandoned road here. That's detailed at tab I, and we would like to acquire that as a part of squaring away this abandoned road. It's a litigated matter now, but we've reached a settlement of that, subject, of course, to the Cemetery Board and Supreme Court's approval. That piece of land we would like to be designated as cemetery land, along with the abandoned paper street that is the subject of that. The rest of the briefing book or presentation book are just information from the county and the town. They both are very much behind this project. And lastly, or second to last is at tab L is our letters. Mr. Fishman, over the course of time, we've tried to keep him in the loop so the division knew what was going on. Lastly is a letter from our chairman, Stephen Locke, about making a request that the money that we would net out of this transaction be allowed to go to the general fund. He has provided with that about a detail of about $7.2 million of capital projects that Pine Lawn foresees will need to be done in the near future, so we would request the board's approval as to that aspect of the transaction. I'm sure I glossed over some things, but in the interest of not overloading you with information, I'm glad to answer any further questions that you have.
That was great. That was good stuff. Questions, folks?
Yeah, we have a memo here to Mr. Fishman from Mr. Ginondo, and it has, the last page is Pine Lawn's costs for reimbursement, DPW with Pine Lawn Cemetery. Pine Lawn is paying these costs and they're gonna be reimbursed?
Correct.
By the county?
Correct.
So that's an extra?
That's extra money that the county will, in addition to that $1 million I talked about in road reconfiguration, there are legal fees, there are appraisal fees, because we had to have an independent appraiser review the appraisals of the county. There are fees for an arborist who needed to look over the plans. There are title charges, because we want to make sure that we secure a good title to the land that we acquire.
Now these, this is a part of the net? Or
no,
not?
it is not. It's a very good question. It is not a part of the net.
So it's
in
addition to the net. And the attorney's fees are your firm's fees?
Correct.
So the county's picking up your fees?
Yes, the reasonable amount of those fees.
So there's no cost to Pine Lawn then, professional fees?
Yes, it is our hope that in the end, they will cover all of the costs. They, under the condemnation law, believe that they are only obligated or can only pay, even though this is outside of the condemnation law, the reasonable fees. So, I mean, we have a very cordial working relationship over these last 7 years, so we believe we can reach agreement on the fees.
7 years you've been working on this?
7 years.
That's a short time.
A lot of fits and starts.
It's almost
Well, that explains the $140,000.
Yes.
Yeah, I got an idea. I mean, 7 years later, you know.
Other questions from board members or from Mr. Malillo or?
There are a couple of legal issues here. Part of this project involves cemetery renovation. You're renovating interior roads. There might be some other work. That's going to require a major renovation application, which we don't have. But I assume the most pressing matter is the purchase and sale, and that you can come back with a renovation application.
Correct, yes, and it is pressing, and Mr. Hillman can speak better to this. There's federal funds that need to be spent in 2014, so that is why we need to get this approved, so they can secure that funding.
Okay, and the other issue is,
You know what, Tony, before we get into that issue, I just want, because that's sort of the end issue.
okay,
I just want to flesh out the propriety of the transaction generally, so I'd like to hear from the division or from Richard, if you know. Tell us what your opinion is and what you think of it.
Well, first of all, I mean, I don't know why, you know, I'm not a scholar in the law, but that whether the county could or could not do an eminent domain, I don't know what the legal reasons they couldn't do it. But the fact is, this was initiated by the county to correct a horrendous traffic situation. Wellwood Avenue is a death trap and has been for umpteen years. In fact, I think, I know, one of Pine Lawn's employees was killed, and some people who were visiting graves came out and were broadsided right on that street. So it's a dangerous environment, and anything that can help to forget about the money, forget about the graves, forget about all that, to keep people living, driving on that thing is you can't say no. You can look at the details, but I think in terms of what Pine Lawn is going to get out of this is so beneficial that you can't look at any other way to it. And they do 4,000 burials a year at Pine Lawn. There's a tremendous traffic issue just with Pine Lawn. And then you add the other 6 cemeteries on that strip, you're talking tremendous traffic just for funerals, not even just normal traffic.
What about the purchase of the land from the municipality, that extra strip?
You know, I'm not, I don't second guess. We've walked the furrows, we've been there, we've been in discussions for many years on this. It makes sense for Pine Lawn to do this, and I'm not going to second guess that.
Yeah. Is the land that is being sold, is that currently suitable for burial, or is that?
Most of it, yes.
Yeah. And the land you're acquiring will be suitable for burial, and is a larger chunk, right?
Yes. Potentially, there is a complication here with a road abandonment. So the part of this transaction is that the town will abandon a paper street that abuts, and pursuant to the highway law, we don't know how much of that we would get until that abandonment process plays itself out, because the adjoining owners on each side of the abandoned road are entitled to make claim to it. Part of that abandoned road, the owner is a town park, so we can safely say we'll get that. The remainder of the property, there's some question. We're hopeful that the other adjoining owners won't want to acquire that, and we can get that as a part of this transaction, but that process has to play itself out.
And can you just articulate for me the benefits of acquiring for $1 million that hunk of land, that's, because this is a combined purchase, sale, transfer thing, and you're getting a piece from the
Yes.
municipality, you're selling. Why take the land from the municipality? Just give me some information as to the
Sure.
benefit to the cemetery.
Yeah, the big benefit is if there needs to be a buffer there, and I don't know if it needs to be the 50 feet that would be acquired, but there has to be a buffer there from the surrounding uses.
And that's contiguous with or running laterally with another buffer that's already been partially established.
Yes, so this would allow that buffer to extend to there, and that there could be further interments in the portion of the cemetery that would have been used as buffer had they not acquired this. So it allows the footprint of the cemetery to increase, which is good financially for the cemetery, and gives it an established buffer.
Any other questions on the substance? Okay, that's good. Now the next issue.
All right, the next issue is the proceeds of the sale of the land. Let's see. The total that Pine Lawn would be receiving is $5 million. They are indicating that the net proceeds, because there's also purchase of land, is $2.2 million. So the question is, Section 1506 on a land sale requires that the proceeds be deposited into the permanent maintenance fund, and the legal question is how much of those proceeds are subject to that provision? Is it the gross proceeds or the net proceeds when you net out the land sale? But I think on the application, the request of the cemetery that even the net proceeds go into the general fund, I think that has to be denied because the statute's clear and we've never permitted a violation of that provision.
Well, I don't want to be a fly in the ointment here, but over the years, the previous boards have allowed for capital projects a percentage, usually 50% of the sales or whatever income, either from a cell phone tower or whatever, to be used for specific capital projects, and which would be monitored by the division to be sure that the money is spent that way and that the project actually is done. And then once that is done, that's it. And then any additional revenues will go into the permanent maintenance fund.
I think what we did, at least in the relatively recent past, is we paid homage to the statute, which is that the monies go to the permanent maintenance fund, and then there was a simultaneous application made for loans against the permanent maintenance fund to fund the capital improvements. And we usually did that when cemeteries had a fiscal need for it, and we had all the fiscal to back that.
Right.
And because I don't think we have the authority just to, on our own, unilaterally say that the money doesn't have to go to the permanent maintenance fund, because the statute's very clear, that's where it goes, and there's no discretion that's given to the board to change that. But you're absolutely right, we've worked with cemeteries on that issue. So before we get to that, I know you're going to be very interested in this $5 million, $2.2 million analysis, because we want to know what nut we're working with to start. And I know, I chatted with Tony before the meeting. My view is, and that's why I asked you the question about a single transaction, it just seems to me this is a single transaction. We take it in its totality. I think it's fair to say that the net is the amount that we're working with that has to go to the permanent maintenance fund. I don't know, but that's an opinion, and we certainly haven't dealt with that subject matter before. Anybody else have a different view? Or, yeah.
I don't have anything to.
Yeah, to add to that.
I don't have a history on past president.
Yeah, it's just the statute says that the proceeds of the sale have to go into the permanent maintenance fund. In this case, it calls the question, what's the proceeds of the sale, right?
Right.
Is it the net number because you're doing a land swap, or is it, or do we treat them separately? And I think these two are so intrinsically linked, that I'm willing to say that the proceeds in this case are the net after the swap is figured out, which is the $2.2 million.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But having said that, then we get back to the discussion. That 2.2 million, I think, has to go to the permanent maintenance fund. If the cemetery, if Pine Lawn wishes to use a chunk of it, and can make a fiscal argument, that it should do that or needs to do that, we'd be more than happy to entertain that. I can, if we're all in agreement that this is a good project and we should approve it today, and we can structure the motion to reflect that and allow you to come back.
I think that makes sense.
Watchful.
All right.
What are the hanging charges here that they have to come back for? Just the use of the funds in the maintenance fund, or do they have to come back on that town acquisition too?
No.
Is that a whole part of the deal?
I think the town acquisition, the purchase and sale, we take care of today by recommending approval to the Supreme Court if we're so inclined to do that. What they have to come back to us for are two things, if they choose to. I know they're going to come back on a major renovation to improve the cemetery grounds, the capital projects. That's fine. And I have a feeling that they'll be coming back to us with an argument as to why they should be permitted to borrow from the permanent maintenance fund for those capital improvements, and how that's going to be treated in terms of repayment. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? I guess since I got real deep into this, maybe I'll make the motion. And the motion will be to recommend to the court approval of the purchase and sale transaction. The approval will permit Pine Lawn to all monies, that is 2.2 million to be deposited in the permanent maintenance fund. We will permit a second look at the loan made from the permanent maintenance fund to the cemetery for use of that 2.2 million for capital improvements, should the cemetery be so inclined to have us do that. The capital improvements that were discussed in the application must be reviewed by the cemetery upon the submission of a major renovation application. I said reviewed by the cemetery board upon submission of a major renovation application. Before I conclude that, do you have anything to
Well, I
add?
just would ask that the parcels that I mentioned that we were seeking to be now, to allow them to be used as cemetery parcels, these adjoining parcels, and the one that's involved in the litigation, that be a part of the approval.
Is that, Tony, is that a major renovation? Or is that just,
So
I think that's fine.
These lands have previously not been treated as cemetery lands,
They were,
for cemetery purposes?
They were required for non-cemetery purposes.
Okay.
And one of these, again, is a separate little, just.
I don't know
settlement
that
of
you need
litigation.
cemetery board. I don't think there's a procedure for cemetery, but I think the cemetery board can certainly indicate that they don't have any objection.
And
Because I think
and we have no objection to the cemetery's use of, if you describe the lands, we'll put in the motion, the cemetery's use of.
Okay. It is tax map number 0100, District 0100, Section 53, Block 1, Lots 1, 4, 26, 63, 64, and 65, and the litigation parcel, which is described, I guess it's better to just indicate that it's described in the presentation book at Exhibit I.
Okay, you'll give that to Suzanne after. Cemetery board has no objection to the use of those lands as for a term.
My only concern is my client obviously had written a letter, had very strong feelings about the hope that the money could go to the general fund, and I don't know whether it might be worth deferring on the decision just so I could talk to them about that, because I don't think they have that understanding, if that would maybe.
I don't think there's any flexibility
Okay.
on that the money has to go to the permanent maintenance fund, but there's flexibility in terms of getting the money back. All right, so if you like, you can come back to us next, because you're not gonna conclude this deal next month, right?
No.
So that there is time, all right, and you're certainly welcome to come back to the board and argue with the board. All right, anytime, all right, before the deal is concluded. So, and we'll listen.
Great,
All right.
I appreciate that, thank you.
So, the motion, convoluted though it is, stands. Any
second
further
it.
discussion? Okay.
Second convolution.
Right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Do we have a copy of the petition to the Supreme Court?
Got that down, okay?
We'll see.
We have not made it yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Suzanne, anything you
I
want
certainly can
restated on
copy
that?
more when we do.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, the Attorney General would get it, the
Right,
original
take off the
Attorney General
YouTube.
would get
Yeah.
it.
Doing it down in Suffolk?
Yeah, the Suffolk
Okay.
region.
And that's where you're doing it.
But I can send Tony a copy as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good presentation. And thanks for coming. We didn't get to bombard you with questions, sorry. I figured.
Appreciate your support.
No problem. Sounds like an absolutely necessary thing. All right. Lakeview Cemetery, land purchase. So, I want to compliment the division in terms of dealing with the Lakeview Cemetery Board. I saw the conversation and the resolution that was made by the board to explain to us why the offered purchase price of $62,000 was reasonable under the circumstances. Because we have the new appraisals, which we requested, now show $50,000 and $29,300, as opposed to the old appraisal of, what was it, $95,000 or something like that,
Yeah.
which they backed off of.
Well, can I address that?
Yeah, sure.
The original appraisals were 29.5 and then the 90.
Right.
When we requested new appraisals, the appraiser that had originally shown the 90,000 is passed away.
Yeah.
So they received a updated appraisal from the appraiser that showed it at the 29,000, and that's remained the same.
That's what?
That has remained the same. That hasn't
Right.
fluctuated at all. So the new appraisal for 50,000 is, I guess what it is it's a separate opinion from the original two opinions. And therefore, they feel that if the original appraiser wasn't deceased, he would again say that it was worth $90,000. Yeah.
Seems like that disparity is really remarkable between 30 and 90. But in any event, I think you wisely counseled them to state the reasons why they felt the 62 was justified. And I'd note that it's been a 20-year attempt to purchase this property.
20 years.
That they need the land for interment, that they're afraid it'll be sold for residential development. They stand to make a couple $1 million.
They're gonna repay the 62,000 in 3 years, just based on lot sales.
That was my question. I didn't catch that.
40 lot sales a year.
Is
24,000.
it 40 for the entire, I saw 40, but that would be 40 for the entire cemetery, right? Not that particular land.
The, let's see, in 2012, they sold 40 graves throughout
Right.
the entire cemetery.
Right.
In 2011, they sold 37 graves. So they have a pattern of selling 40 graves a year.
No, my point is, how many burials, how many sales will take place in the new land? Because that's the payback. It's not the payback isn't how much the cemetery does.
Yes.
It's- Yeah.
They have 100 graves left in the existing
Gotcha.
cemetery.
That's the end of the
So-
discussion. Okay. All right.
Supply and demand.
Yeah. All right. Any questions or discussion on this one? No. I'm done motioning today. Anybody want a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good, thank you. All right, we now normally come to our executive session break, but there's something else that I have not listed on the agenda, but is nevertheless part of it. I shall return in just one moment. Nobody move. You can talk to the camera, anybody.
Talk amongst
Talk amongst yourselves. How you doing, Susan? Alright. You're becoming a vet. There.
And keep it safe. Very much.
He's alive.
These pictures of Rich.
Yeah, this is October. This is the entrance to the National Cemetery, which abuts it. You know the area, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Family there.
Yeah. And I think this is a part of the,
You got like 3 days.
When I had family on Long Island, I was driving through there, and it's like he described, it's like cemetery haven.
Yeah.
Oh, no, oh.
Everything there was a cemetery.
yeah.
Project.
You have to tell them that you're going
I
there.
wonder how long it's going to take to
You can't like,
complete it.
it's weird, you can't
Well,
like.
it took 7 years to get to this point, so, but they gotta lock in that federal road, otherwise they're not doing it.
Dan,
So that's how close it is to the residential area.
Oh, here it is.
All right. Well, there are those who may not know what this is. But, well, I leave this, Mr. Buckowitz, you're gonna do this one. You're welcome. There are some people who can really shovel, you know what. Richard over the years has shoveled his fair share. In fact, maybe more than any other previous participant, whether as a director or a board member. And there are a few board members who do such work, and a few division directors who do such work, that they get the actual shovel which they've used over the years, which we have appropriately amended, replaced the head with a golden head. This is the infamous golden shovel. So I'd like to read what's on the golden shovel, and then perhaps we can do some signing. Some of you may not know that Richard is retiring, and that his last day will be next week, next Friday. Right. So this is Richard's last board meeting, and that makes me very sad. It really does. We're losing the most effective director we've ever had, and I've seen a few, being the old guy that I am. Anyway, I'll read this. The New York State Cemetery Board, the Division of Cemeteries, and friends present this golden shovel to Richard Fishman, Director, 1995 to 2013. May he retire in peace.
So to speak.
With love. And I signed it, Daniel Shapiro, Department of State, and I'd like the cemetery board to sign on the front. I have signed slowly. I made the mistake of signing quickly. It doesn't yeah, it's tough to write on. Good luck. Good luck. All right, maybe put the department underneath. And then Richard can continue to shovel even in retirement.
Well, we do have a little garden. But I hate to dirty it up.
Well done.
Yeah. And I have something
Mounted over your mantelpiece.
It's sort of like signing those board orders.
That's a mighty big shovel there, Richard. Bob.
Now, does Richard get to keep this, or does this go on the division?
This is a gift, you know. We have to,
I know if you have a wall of fame here.
No state resources were expended upon this. Didn't know they sold gold ones, huh? Yeah. You know, they last longer. That's great. Thank you. And if if the division and friends could sign, I'll just pass this around. We can go in the back there. There you go. Now, belatedly, all right, some of us get littler shovels. There's the big shovelers, and then there's the littler shovelers.
Right. Howard, we present as a mini-me.
Oh, it's just me, you don't have to go as deep?
The granddaughter will enjoy it.
And
How deep do those headstones have to be, the foundations? I never figured it out. Go ahead.
and they run deep, as Howard runs deep with the division and his love for the division and all. But I didn't know about the thing here, but
We can inscribe.
we can inscribe. Yeah, we present this to you. And if I wasn't such a big fan of the dollar store, it'd be as gold as that. But you do see things through rose-colored glasses, and we're more than happy to see the world through your glasses.
Thank you, Joseph. And now I have one more piece to go through. And I have in my hand a proclamation from Cesar Perales to Mr. Fisher. Very pretty. Ooh, wow, that's suitable for framing. I'm not buying in the frame. No. So this proclamation is honoring Richard D. Fishman. Daniel?
David.
As Director of the Division of Cemeteries in the New York State Department of State. This proclamation recognizes the outstanding services performed by Richard D. Fishman as Director of the New York State Department of State Division of Cemeteries. His many valuable contributions to this agency demand public recognition. Richard first entered state service as the Director of the Division of Cemeteries in 1995. Seems like longer. From day one, he has been a fierce advocate for the continued viability of the approximately 1,800 cemeteries in the jurisdiction of the division. Such advocacy contemplates profound respect for the industry and the willingness to work with its representatives to achieve common goals. Additionally, Richard has an uncanny ability to recognize practices which are detrimental to cemeteries and the public, and has worked ceaselessly and with great gusto to correct them. State of New York is well served. It may surprise some, or no one, to learn that Richard can be voluble. His exclamations of joy, disgust, chagrin, and disbelief can often be heard by his staff in Albany, notwithstanding that Richard is getting vented them in his New York City office. There have even been times when such exclamations have gone out over the international airways. But that is a story for another day. To say that Richard is passionate is an understatement. He believes in the cause and gives body and soul to it. You can be forgiven a blue word or two. Richard has had the good fortune to be served by a remarkable and competent staff. There have been losses over the years. The deaths of Ed Hand and Mike Itzo were a shock and a matter of profound grief for all in the division. Richard suffered with the staff, and all formed deep and abiding bonds. Richard's leadership and compassion helped to keep an office together which could easily have fallen apart. Sorry, guys.
Don't be.
It's been a great pleasure working with you on behalf of the Department of State. Thank you for your leadership, your stewardship, your wisdom, and your kind heart. Signed by Cesar Perales, Secretary of State. All right, Mr. Voluble.
Okay.
I noted that you had a few things to say that you were withholding.
Yeah, I'll make it short, because I can't, I just want to thank everybody for this opportunity and privilege, I think, to do public service and what that concept that we old people who grew up in the Kennedy era, who thought public service was a noble profession, and I never thought otherwise than to go into public service in some form. And I told my kids that when I graduated from Fresno State College in 1968, I knew that 30 years later I'd be the division director in New York State. And they actually believed that for about 3 seconds. So you don't know what life brings to you. But this job it's not really been a job. It's really been an avocation. And whatever I do, I try to do it to the utmost. And I know, I mean, that we've done terrific things for everybody in this state, cemeteries, and even the funeral directors, working with everybody and getting it right. One of the couple of the issues that I think are still out there that really need to be looked at in the future, and I hope that the new director, whoever that may be, can work with the other, I hate this word stakeholders, but for the lack of a better term. We had an opportunity a few years ago to review this law in its entirety. This law, for the most of it, was written in 1949. That's a long time ago. New York State is not the Empire State of 1949. It's a state that needs all the help it can get. This legislation does not reflect the economic realities of New York today, doesn't reflect the economic realities of the cemeteries today. It does not reflect the tremendous increase in cremation in New York State and across the country, which is one of the major problems for cemeteries. The costs of running cemeteries never really go down, they go up, especially downstate, unionized cemeteries. Somehow the costs are tremendous, which is a dissuasion, I believe, of a lot of people from being buried as they used to be, but go to cremation because of how cheap it is. So I would hope that the powers that be are willing to sit down with a group of everyone to review the law and to see where we can eliminate those areas that cost the cemeteries enormous amounts of money. We're working on that now in financial reporting procedures, CPA reviews, and so on. But even going to court, costing, and I'm not talking about the big cemeteries, they can afford that. But the cemetery needs to go out and buy some land for $10,000, and the lawyer's going to cost them $5,000 to go to court, doesn't make a lot of economic sense. I believe the cemetery board in many cases is competent enough with the division staff support to make these decisions and not to come up and frankly bring, using the Supreme Court where their time is better used elsewhere. That's my opinion. I believe one of the areas that's, in fact, it's coming up right away from all the rumors we're hearing, that a religious institution is going to put a crematory on its grounds, on its cemetery grounds. The law, depending upon who reads it, says that the cemetery board approves the establishment of crematories. Well, what does that mean in terms of crematories on a religious institution? How can the state be sure that the cremation of the people in that crematory are only the religion of that church or synagogue? Well, it's not going to happen in the synagogue. But there's no way to know that. Therefore, they need to be approved, just as any other crematory in the state needs to be approved. And they need to be inspected and regulated just like any other crematorium. And the fees that are required, the administrative fees, not the vandalism fee, because they're not entitled to vandalism money, need to be collected. Because if we continue to find violations, and we have found violations in a cemetery that is not regularly regulated by us, can we find that cemetery and can they pay the fees, the fines, and rather than to say, well, this is a church state. I believe in New York State, that line has been crossed many, many times in many different ways. So obviously it's It's an issue, but I think to have good administration and good regulation and protecting the citizens of New York, I think it's a necessary requirement. My perennial issue, the burial societies, and it's not just the Jewish burial societies. The largest growth in burial societies is in the Chinese sector. The Muslim sector is growing. I'm dealing with various groups who are concerned about it. They need to be regulated. And they should be regulated by the division because it involves graves, it involves fees, it involves resale, it involves all kinds of things. And if they were regulated, most of the Jewish issue would be resolved, since most of these organizations are really shells. Tangentially to that, the funeral directors that control many of these societies should be required to give them up by law, because they are in effect running the combination. And we've just turned over a case to the Attorney General regarding illegal sales by a funeral director to a non-member of one of these organizations. So the beat goes on and nothing has changed, but I believe a push should be done in that area. The issue of pets. We had some tough times dealing with pets. And for the division of cemeteries, we have 1,800 human cemeteries to deal with. People die every day. The contact with the cemetery division and cemeteries or consumers is constant. There is no downtime in this job. And anybody who takes it has to realize that. The introduction of more and more pet cemetery, pet crematory issues to our thin staff as it is counterproductive. And I believe that internally that needs to be either shifted because they are licensed and they are for profit, not for profit. It's a different animal altogether, no pun intended. It ought to be shifted internally to the licensing entity for enforcement and taken out of our responsibility. And one last thing, I mean, there are many.
You
but
promise?
Yes, okay. This is the last thing. A number of years ago, a bill was introduced and passed to require cemeteries and funeral homes to issue receipts for the bodies that are coming to them. We generally call it the receipt bill, which everybody hated except the people who pushed it. And we found out that it was a local issue which kind of blew up. And anyway, we have it. However, it only affects upstate New York and Long Island and not New York City, which I think is a discriminatory act in itself. But the fact is it's redundant, and the sponsor of the legislation, who is no longer in the assembly, but who stood up and said that there will never be a misidentification of a body again because of this bill, is totally erroneous. The bill does nothing but add more paperwork and more responsibility to the cemeteries and to the funeral homes. Also, it includes the religious cemeteries and the town cemeteries. And we, the division, are the enforcement agents of that. Unless somebody's complaining, I've never had our people do anything. So it's really a waste of everybody's time and resources, and I believe it needs to be repealed. And at that, I just want to thank everybody for a wonderful 18 years. Thank you.
Yep. Well, we have a tough act to follow, but I will now open this up for public comments. Anybody have anything they'd like to address to the board?
Mr. Shapiro?
Yes, sir. You can't take as long as Richard, you got a
No,
smaller.
I really will be brief. In a career in the department which spans over 44 years, I've had the pleasure of working for every secretary from Judge Lomenzo there to our old current Secretary of State Morales.
Any of these guys?
Not that far back. I've had the chance also to go to other units, and when I was asked back by Richard and Dan, the evolution in the division is stunning. First of all, Richard's comment about thin is the truth. The joke was, I used to be the commander of a battalion. We now have a platoon to do so much more. Also, the focus of the cemetery board, you three gentlemen, has absolutely astounded me on the seriousness of what you deal with and how you take care of it. There was never that, I'm sorry, I don't mean to criticize in the past, there was never that in the past. The seriousness which you take your positions on is absolutely astounding, and the titanic issues you deal with are impressive too. The fact that both Richard and Dan share a playground sense of justice and outrage when they find chicanery is truly been impressive over the years. And listening to Richard now, I never knew his middle name until now, and it seems very biblical that he would be a David because he constantly threw rocks at Goliaths wherever they were. And of course, Richard's bywords always was, so sue me. And that is the truth.
With gusto.
With gusto, yes. But I've really been honored to be back and to be part of this division once again. And I cannot say enough about the current board or the current division in what it does and how it does it.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you. Anybody else today? All right, Richard, I suggest you order 5 copies of this board meeting. It'll only be $10 a copy. All right.
It's going to be on YouTube, I think.
Or you put it on YouTube, put it on Facebook, all right, or whatever it is that people do. All right, well, having no other comments today, I will motion to go into executive session for investigative matters. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We'll take a 5-minute break. right, wonderful. Well, having concluded this executive session, I will now move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Richard?
Yes, sir.